I am here at the Atlan booth with Prukalpa, the co-CEO and founder. How is your summit going so far?
It is going great.
Amazing. And what would you say is one word you would use to describe summit?
Context.
Context. How could I guess it was going to be context? There was a sign around. I kind of felt like that, but that is a great word. So tell me, as the intelligence layer is becoming more abundant, we have a lot of different models out there. What really becomes the moat for implementing AI in enterprise organization?
It's interesting. It feels like we're at this point where intelligence is finally truly working. The harnesses are there, the models are there. Honestly, for all intents and purposes, we can go and argue about AGI.
Yes.
But for most real-life value-generating tasks, we finally have the models and the intelligence. However, they're like a super smart intern today that you're hiring into your company. This is really where context comes in. And the compounding investment that companies need to make today is in their context ecosystems. We've actually done this for humans. So if you think about the last 100 years, when you onboard someone into your company, well, you onboard them. They go to training, then you assign them a mentor. The mentor gives them feedback. They shadow other people in your team. They make a mistake. They learn in these mistakes. And now over the next 2 years, we want to onboard twice the number of digital workers or agents than humans. But there's no infrastructure built for them to become great at your company. This is really what is going to differentiate companies that win with AI and companies that don't win with AI. Like, in fact, they used to actually have this thing where they used to say culture eats strategy for breakfast, organizational development. How do you invest in infrastructure of building high-performing organizations? This is going to be the new kind of high-performance organization in this AI native world.
So when companies want AI agents on top of Snowflake, what is it that they really need to be thinking about in terms of implementation to make sure that it is a success?
Yeah. So today with Snowflake and these agentic platforms, it is very easy to build an agent. It takes you 5 minutes. Actually, you and I can right now pull out our laptops. 5 minutes, we can build an agent. The hard part is giving it the business context that it takes to make that agent successful. Let me give you an example. Let's say I ask an agent a question. What are my top 10 customers? Sounds like a pretty simple question, right?
I would ask that any day.
Yeah. Well, really hard question to answer because, well, who's asking? Because if my marketing team asks, what are my top 10 customers? What does top 10 mean? It's probably the top 10 customers by brand and logo affinity. If my sales team asks, it's probably my top 10 customers by revenue. If my product team asks, it's probably my top 10 customers by adoption. So who's asking? What does top 10 even mean? What does customer mean?
Yes.
Is it contracted, people on trial, people who just started my freemium plan? And then eventually there's data context. How do I calculate a customer? So to get a simple question like that answered is a really complicated problem. And then if you go from that to a what, that was just a what question. Let's talk about a why question. Like, what does a great analyst do? When you ask them, like, why is revenue dropping? They go and already run the seasonality analysis and they know your business and they know that in Q3, Europe tends to have a pipeline drop because it's summer in Europe. These are the things that humans know and have as expertise in their heads. And so what great customers that get this right? They find a way for AI agents to understand the context of their businesses.
So we're at Snowflake Summit and I had a ton of announcements, particularly yesterday, and they announced Horizon, Semantic Views, Cortex. Is that enough, right? I mean, we have all of these layers to add some of that context.
Yeah.
What else do we need?
Yeah. So it's interesting. A lot of these companies are starting to build new constructs for context to be something that AI can consume. So the semantic view, as an example, is a really good primitive to be able to express data, tables, filters, joins in a way that AI can understand it. However, the challenge is it's really hard to build a semantic view. It takes you many, many months to build an individual semantic view. So the big first challenge we see our customers say is context bootstrapping. I cannot spend 3 months building a semantic view. Well, and if I want to deploy, like for all these business questions, if I want to deploy hundreds of agents, am I going to be building hundreds and thousands of semantic views? It's like a really complicated problem. The second problem is how much context is enough. This is a non-deterministic system. There's no bound. So we see these customers that are stuck in testing hell where they're just continuing to say, okay, more context. Oh, I tested this other thing and it doesn't work. And so now I have to give it more context. This is really where a context layer or an enterprise context layer comes in. What we do first is we look at across your entire estate. We use AI itself to start generating context. So what this means is that instead of this many months, one time, manual whole effort of creating semantic views. You can go live with semantic views in the matter of a couple of days. The second problem that we solve is simulations. So going back into this, like, when does this context problem end? Well, how do they use BI today? Can I go take that BI and say what kind of questions I can reverse construct? So AI itself can run hundreds of simulations, thousands of simulations, and reverse construct this context. And so all of this just comes down to how quickly can you do this? Every data leader I speak to today is in a race, and we don't have the time and the number of hours in a day to go generate this context manually, and that's really where an enterprise context here comes in.
Yeah, I love that, particularly because it's like I have so much to get done. So you're saying another layer that I need to add to. How do I make sure it's useful? And this is again like use AI where AI is helpful. Right? It can help you to generate that context layer. Like use that to jumpstart forward. So as we wrap up today, if you could give business leaders and data and AI leaders one piece of advice in implementing agents, what would that be?
So last year, this time at Snowflake Summit, my one message to data leaders and AI leaders was context is king. Invest in context systems and it will help you get value out of AI. I guess that advice has largely turned out to be true.
It kind of took over the industry. I think you made it the year.
This year, my advice is context is business IP. If there's one compounding investment you're making, everyone and their competitors are going to have access to the same models. Context is business IP. Invest in this business IP. Also keep it open and interoperable. We're in the middle of a race. The worst thing anyone can do is lock into an individual framework and lock in your context into an individual system. Agentic harnesses are going to go through evolution. Almost all our customers use dozens of agentic platforms and hundreds of agents. So the one advice that I have for customers is keep your context open, keep it interoperable, keep it yours.
I love that. Great advice. I'm excited for this to be the new theme next year as you're a pioneer and visionary in this space. So thank you so much for taking the time to share it with us.
Thanks for having me.
Amazing.